Hey guys, it's CWillyHD here, and welcome back to Game Breakers. It's been a fat minute since I've done one of these, so I wanted to take a look at a game I've always wanted to cover, Super Mario Odyssey. Since this game came out a few years ago, there have been so many glitches found for this game, but at the same time, Nintendo also released updates in an attempt to patch them. Luckily, there's a whole bunch of amazing glitches that survived through Nintendo's wrath, and more that were just discovered anyway. Everything from skipping past half of Darker Side Kingdom, clipping in and out of bounds, as well as glitchy scooters are all still possible. With that being said, let's dive into Super Mario Odyssey. Up first, we got Lake Kingdom with a pretty easy out of bounds trick. Come over to the main area on the left side. Go near the big palace area below the 2D pipe, and you should find these 3 wooden pegs. Use Cappy to pull them out, and then we're going to need to capture a Cheep Cheep. Bring it back to where we were, as this is where we're getting out of bounds from. Try to get the fish to swim up against this corner going into the crevice. If you get stuck and it looks like this, you're on the right track. Now all you gotta do is hold up on the control stick and press ZL to uncapture the Cheep Cheep. If you were in the right spot, Mario will pop right through the wall and out of bounds. You're now outside the entire kingdom and free to do whatever you want. But as you can probably tell, we're underwater. So, Mario can't really breathe right now. It took me a second to realize this, and you can even see the exact point when I panicked and began to swim upwards rapidly. Luckily, it's not too far of a swim up to the top, so you can get there with ease. Okay, now we're ready to explore. But, what do we do out here? Well, I'm glad you asked. Kinda, because I don't really know what purpose this could serve other than just looking neat and being outside the map. Oh, you can spend 10 minutes trying to break these boxes to cause a moon to spawn, but it's still out of reach from here, so there really wasn't any point. You can reach a loading zone behind this door where you normally have to unzip a section of the wall and bust open the door itself. No? Alright. In all seriousness though, it is pretty cool to explore Lake Kingdom from outside the normal walls and boundaries. This is personally my favorite world if you're talking about visuals and its beautiful music. It gives me a big Jolly Roger Bay vibe, so maybe that's why, but still. You can see where the developers cut corners since they never expect you to see certain areas from other angles. Like here with the cave section. It's just a big rocky block, and they added detail on the inside of it. You can also see this room that's really far down below the level. I would try to get down there, but you can't do that while you're inbound, so I'd just suffocate. To end off this glitch, I tried seeing how far I could actually go out of bounds. I didn't get too far, and I eventually swam through this wall, which I guess was just an outer texture border. I also saw the Odyssey balloon by itself, so it was just a giant golden ball floating there. I assume this is because you normally be able to see it from anywhere since it's so large. But anyway, as I got a little further away, I just randomly died like I fell out of the level, even though I was perfectly fine floating on the water. So that's basically all you can do though. Maybe you'd manage to find a moon or two you can collect out here, but I wasn't able to find any. Moving on to Snow Kingdom in the Bound Bowl. Down by the track, you'll find this Chivarian racer you can capture. Bring him over to this ledge on the right of the viewing area. Slowly move him so he's pushing up against the edge of the glass. Now we just need to let go of the control stick and tap B repeatedly to make him bound up and down. You don't need to go too crazy with the mashing or he'll just get out of control. He'll begin to bonk off the top wooden part, which is what we want. Once you think you got the timing down, right as he's about to make contact with the ceiling, press ZL to uncapture him, and you should clip out of bounds. While in the air, you want to dive towards the land and the racetrack. After landing back on the ground, congrats! You're now out of bounds in an area you're kind of supposed to be able to reach since you do race on it, but this is a pretty low resolution version of it. You can see the crowd cheering in a low frame rate with pretty messed up faces, as well as where walls cease to exist since you're never supposed to see them. You also might have noticed that this ground here really isn't snow, as you sink if you stand still, and even when you do run around, it's kinda slow. When you're done walking through these innocent civilians, why not take a look at the racetrack itself? Getting down there is pretty simple. All you gotta do is jump this gap and land on the ledge below. You're now free to have a look around and get past by the Chivarian racers. But yeah, you're able to explore this whole track with ease and... Oh yeah, there's one important thing I should mention. There are invisible holes scattered throughout this track that cause you to instantly die, effectively canceling this glitch. I came across a lot of these holes, so I had to perform the glitch at least 10 times to keep trying to make it further and further down the track. From my testing, the best strategy is to follow the wooden path. The best strategy is to just randomly guess where to stand and hope you don't die right on the spot. I wasn't able to make it very far from the original starting point as I just kept dying. I'm sure it is possible to actually make a full lap around, but that would take hours of routing. But for what it's worth, it's still a super fun glitch to mess around with until you meet your inevitable doom. Next up is one of my favorites. It takes place in Luncheon Kingdom and is really easy to pull off. There are 2 things we need to change before heading to the spot though. First, we gotta change into 2-player mode. So grab another controller or Joy-Con, but don't worry, we don't actually need another person or friend to help. Luckily. Once that's on, we need to press pause again and enter assist mode through the options menu. And now we're ready to start. Head down to this area with the 2 Podoboos. We need to sync up their jumps for a reason you'll see in a second. So capture one of them, and as the other one is landing back in the lava, hop back out. They should now be jumping pretty similarly. Now we just have to walk off the ledge and into the lava, and since we're in assist mode, we get placed back into the bubble and warped back up. This is when you should put your first controller down and grab the one Cappy is assigned to. As Mario is still flashing, capture one of the Podoboos and rapidly switch capturing back and forth. After the third one, Mario's model will just be floating there on top of the enemy and we've pulled the glitch off. The reason we needed 2 players with the Podoboo's jump synced is because Cappy can rapidly switch between captures just by pointing the control stick in any direction and pressing Y. This allows us to capture these guys 3 times all in one jump, which activates the glitch. So now we got Mario floating above a Podoboo while it's captured, which means you can surf around in this weird looking state. You can switch back to 1 player now if you don't want all the extra clutter on screen, which is what I did. Anyway, we're now free to enjoy this little visual glitch and watch Mario have the time of his life on this little guy. Every time you jump or dash, Mario's model just snaps to that angle. Using these pot cannon thingies, we can just launch ourselves all around the kingdom. You can basically get to any lava section of the map, besides the one that's all the way in the back left corner. I just had a lot of fun with this one as it's very easy to pull off and gives you some hilarious results. Up next, we got a neat one with the scooter. Hop on it and take it to any steep ramp or incline. I'm going to start off using the castle railings in the Mushroom Kingdom. Carefully accelerate and jump so that your front wheel is on the slope and your other wheel is still on the ground. Mario should be at a pretty skewed angle like this. Once you're in a position like this, tap B to hop and then hold Y and B at the same time. Mario should fly up a lot higher than usual, like he has a moon jump cheat code or something. You can still move around while in the air, which creates some buggy results like clipping through the ground and the camera panning weirdly. You can get various results depending on how much you move and the timing of pressing B again and again. Mashing B wouldn't really work for me, so I had to time the button press with actually hitting the ground. It can be hard to get the timing down, but it won't take long until you're a bunny hopping pro. Like I mentioned before, you can do this glitch basically anywhere. Just find a steep slope while on a scooter, B, and then Y and B together, and you'll be bouncing around like Louis Armstrong on the moon. Wait, no, Neil Armstrong. Anyway, while we're on this scooter in Metro Kingdom, there's another glitch we can pull off. We're going to need the scooter all the way at the top of the City Hall roof, so once you're on it, jump in this direction and hold accelerate. Land on top of this building and come down to the back of this sign. Try to drive up the support beam, which causes you to bonk off the sign itself. Hold straight back on the control stick, and if you're lucky, Mario will pop straight through the floor and fall inside the building. You're now out of bounds yet again, this time in Metro Kingdom. You can pass through the other buildings around here, but be careful as the loading zones for the crazy cap shop are right there too. The first time I did this glitch, I accidentally ran right into it and had to start all over. But it wasn't a big deal as there isn't much to do here anyway. I did enjoy having a look around as the area looks really strange from inside here, as you can see floating water towers and the other side of the doors you never get to access. But there's a couple buildings you can run around freely in here, and it's pretty easy to do. So if you wanted to clip inside a building in Metro Kingdom, here you go. Moving on to a section of glitches all revolving around one trick. It's known as roll canceling. Normally, after you perform a ground pound, pressing Y or X will cause Mario to roll. And if you were to press A or B while rolling, Mario would long jump. But if you combine 3 button presses back to back really fast, you can roll and immediately throw Cappy. These 3 buttons are Y, X, and A. Or you could also do X, Y, and B, in those orders respectively. I personally use Y, X, A as it's easier for me and you can press them all fast using 3 fingers. So yeah, you have to press either of these combinations really fast in order to perform a roll cancel. Once you have the basics of it down, we can use it to clip through a lot of walls throughout the game. Starting off in the Sand Kingdom, when you first enter the world, the inverted pyramid will be in the ground with the door locked. You normally have to collect a moon in the Moai habitat in order to open the door, but with a roll cancel, you don't have to. Push yourself against the door and have his right ear touching this line in the face. Now perform the roll cancel we've been practicing. If you bonk off the wall, you didn't press the YXA or YXB buttons fast enough. If you throw your cap and you're still touching the door, you're on the right track. After a good 10 minutes of attempts, I finally clipped through the wall, and now you can head up the stairs and inside the pyramid. After some 2D sections and the bullet bill riding, you can head up and face Harriet in the boss battle. Upon collecting the multi-moon, you'll be warped back to the nighttime section of the level. Now you can do the hole in the desert boss fight and bring peace to the kingdom faster. While this trick is used in a lot of speedruns, it's a super helpful tool we can use in other glitches that we have coming up. So let's take a look at some more. In the Snow Kingdom, there's a way to get down to the bowl-bound circuits early. You normally need to complete these 4 mini stages to unlock the Bowser door, but thanks to a roll cancel clip, you don't have to do that. Start off by getting up to the top balcony, by either going the normal long way or doing this cool strat. Anyway, run over to this corner, which is where we're clipping out from. Line Mario up so his feet are just before this little corner in the snow. turn him in a slight up left direction to the wall, and then perform the roll cancel. You should clip out, and as soon as you do, hold right on the control stick. Immediately after Cappy returns to Mario, throw him in the direction of this snow platform out of bounds. Bounce off it, and dive to land on this ledge out of bounds. Landing over here can take a little practice, as I died a good 10 times after clipping out. Once here though, you can have a look around the town from new angles before doing the final leap of faith. We want to aim for the icy ramp down below the Bowser door. So long jump off the top left corner of this ledge and begin turning towards the ramp. Dive bounce off of Cappy and you should have covered enough distance to land on the ramp and hit the loading zone for the racing circuit. Now you're free to continue on with the objective of the kingdom and bring peace to Shiveria. Alright, next up is one you can do at the very beginning of the game in Cap Kingdom. After the frog portion of the level, you'll end up on top of the tower in the battle against Topper. Instead of doing that though, head right outside the door. There's a tiny rock here next to this cap. We need to stand on it and push up against the wall. Backflip, ground pound as soon as possible, and then roll cancel. If done correctly, Mario will pop right through the wall and inside the tower. We're now on a tiny platform out of bounds. You can take a look around for a second, but we're aiming for this section with the platforms and a door. Long jump, Cappy bounce, and dive your way over this gap that isn't too bad, and you should land here now. Again out of bounds, so take in the view before the next step. We need to get up to this area behind the door, so do a ground pound jump, which will give you enough height to land inside. Congratulations, you've now softlocked the game. There's absolutely nothing to do in here and there's no way to leave. So, yeah, nice going. In all seriousness though, this is the earliest way to softlock the game. There's even a whole speedrunning category dedicated to it. It's called Softlock %, and the current world record is 1 minute and 44 seconds. The speedrun is kind of a joke, but it's still neat as this is the only glitch you need to do in order to get a time on the leaderboards. I could technically submit my run and get 20th place with a flat 3-minute time, and that was even with me watching part of the cutscene and the slow movement. Alright, let's take a break from those difficult glitches. Ever wanted to make Mario Capulous? Is that a word? Anyway, this glitch does exactly that. In the Seaside Kingdom, head over to the volleyball minigame. This trick can be a little difficult to pull off, but once you understand what to do, it's not too bad. You want to hit the volleyball up, and as the shell man sets the ball, you want to do a ground pound jump with him and spike the ball with Cappy. If you got the timing right, you should hit the ball in extra time, and now Cappy just disappears. Somehow the extra hit just makes Cappy poof out of existence, and this glitch is now activated. You're now able to run around with Mario with no hat at all. Cappy is still with you, but just invisible. As you can see when I stand still, his eyes still pop out every once in a while. You can do whatever you want, just don't throw Cappy or he will reappear and everything will turn back to normal. Like I said, once you get the timing down, it's not a hard glitch to achieve. I got it on my first try on my second attempt at it. This kind of reminds me of the moons you collect after placing Cappy on a scarecrow because you aren't allowed to use Cappy, or the glitch will correct itself. Sticking with Seaside Kingdom, there's a way to get out of bounds with a Cheep Cheep. The place we're clipping out from is far back in the kingdom, so capture a Cheep Cheep on your way and then head back to this ridge near the sand mounds. There's a little indent in between these cliffs that you might be able to see. Swim down so the Cheep Cheep is kind of wedged in between the two. Now follow the path straight back to the edge of the level. Once you get close to the drop off, attack to be safe and then hop out. The Cheep Cheep should fall into the little gap. We now want to recapture, but if Mario is standing too close to it as you go to throw the cap, it'll cause the Cheep Cheep to teleport around. Once you hop out, you want to swim a little ways away from the fish and then turn around and throw Cappy. As soon as you start to capture it, begin holding Y to try and swim down and out of bounds. For me, I had to pop out and recapture it as it was halfway in between the wall of collision and the cliffside. Then after swimming down again, I finally popped through and got out of bounds. That was kind of a lot of explaining, but I promise the glitch isn't very hard and only took me about 5 minutes to get down the first time. Anyway, now that we're out here, there's a good amount to explore. There's a pretty big 2D section in this kingdom, so that was my first area of interest. Sure enough, you're able to see under here and it gives you a pretty cool view. I was even able to get the camera perfectly in between the actual land and this section, allowing me to see all the sprites from really up close. Sadly, you can't collect the moon from out here as you actually have to enter the pipes and do all that. In this deep section with the moon pieces, there's an outer layer of textures that Mario can just swim right through. You're still able to stay out of bounds and all, so it's kind of strange. My personal favorite was behind this area of the world, as you can get a really good look at all the sections from an angle you're never supposed to see. You can also see where the skybox kind of glitches out a little bit, as well as what the bottom of the Odyssey looks like. Another thing I immediately thought of when I got out of bounds was just how far I could swim down. Surprisingly, not that deep, as you hit an invisible floor pretty early on. You can even see a good amount of the level still. Once you're done sightseeing, there's actually some use we can get out of this too, and that's collecting moons. Speedrunners actually use this glitch in order to grab 2 moons in their any % runs. They'll grab the gap in the ocean trench moon while staying out of bounds by spinning right next to the wall, which somehow allows them to collect it. And then they'll swim down here underneath the Sphinx, because the load zone is still here anyway, allowing them to bust open the chest and grab the moon in here too. Over in the Wooded Kingdom, there's a neat speed glitch we can do in the 2D section. Come up this steep ramp using a rocket flower and find these bricks. Ground pound these middle two ones twice so we have a clear opening to the 2D pipe. Now go all the way back down to the flowers and perform a spin throw so you're able to grab these 4. Now guide Mario up the ramp and try and maneuver over to the 2D section while keeping the speed boost active. Kinda just follow my movements and jump across the gap into the hole. Once you're in the pipe, hold right and keep on jumping. Mario will fly out of the pipe and shoot across the section with insane speed. You can cover a good amount of ground before you reach this section with the platforms. This is where the fun ends, as running into a wall or turning around makes you lose all of your speed. Getting into the pipe itself can be tricky because if you hit anything or miss the jump, you have to go all the way back. But it's still a neat little trick you can pull off and carry the rocket flower effect into the 2D section for a short time. Oh boy, this next one's hard. At least it was for me anyway. Now that I kinda understand what to do to pull off this glitch, it should be easier for you guys. Anyway, I should probably show you what I'm actually talking about, right? So this glitch involves 2 things. This Typhoo and the wooden block in the distance. Capture it and float on over to the block. We now need to push it a little ways across the ice. What I didn't realize at first is that different gusts of wind will push it different distances. So as you can see here, I wiggled back and forth in order to barely touch the block and push it a little ways off the wall. There's some leeway with the gap we need, but if it looks similar to what I have on screen now, you'll be all good. Now we need to get a big gust, which basically means holding Y the whole time until the block gets out of the range of the Typhoo. So this logically means if we do the same full breath from this side, it'll rest back at the same spot we were originally. In order to pull off this glitch, the Typhoo needs to be inside that little gap from before. But how do we do that? Well, as the great Sir Isaac Newton once said, in Super Mario Odyssey, an object in motion will stay in motion unless it's out of the camera's view. Or something along those lines. Anyway, basically all we gotta do now is perform a full exhale on the block and then turn the camera away quickly. But turning the camera normally won't work. So we gotta press down on the D-pad to enter snapshot mode. This will freeze the game entirely and allow us to move the camera freely. Simply face the camera away from the block so it's not in frame anymore and unpause. Now just glide the Typhoo out and around this section. If we get too close to the block, we'll risk moving it again, so make sure you go pretty far out before looping back around. We need to aim for that original wall where the block originally spawns in. I'd recommend overshooting it so you push up against this wall and then you can slowly head back to the right. Once inside this gap, I entered photo mode again to show you that the block is still over here, but you can just pan the camera. With the block back in the camera's view, it'll finish the movement it was supposed to do earlier and come back to a stop at this point in the ice. If you've made it to this point, then congrats, you're basically done. All you gotta do now is shimmy up towards the corner carefully and you'll eventually pop through and out of bounds. Yes, we did all this just to get out of bounds in the Snow Kingdom. While this trick may look complicated, I promise it's not. I think it's worth it though, as you get to explore it here while still in the Typhoo, so you don't have to worry about dying or anything. You can see the big drop into Shiveria Town, objects spawn in and out, as well as this view where the only thing visible is the frosty water. I did a full lap around the level and then tried to go far out, but there's a big wall of collision stopping us from getting anywhere. Other than that though, there's not much else to do, so either clip back in bounds or fall to your death. Now on to a really good glitch with our pal Glydon. It allows us to gain infinite height so we can fly as high as we want. We can do this glitch in a bunch of kingdoms, but I want to start off with the easiest spot, which is this pillar in the Sand Kingdom. Walk off the edge without jumping and begin gliding as soon as possible. Once you're in the air, you want to begin shaking your controller repeatedly and slowly turn to a side. Glydon will begin to fly higher and higher with each shake. You can turn however much you want, but don't go past 90 degrees from the original direction we left off the pillar. You can use the compass in the corner to determine this, but with all that done, we're able to fly up and above the kingdom. There are invisible walls surrounding the whole kingdom, so once you hit those, you cannot gain any more height. You also have to make sure you don't turn in the opposite direction from the initial turn we made, or the same thing will happen. Using this glitch in the Sand Kingdom gives us a cool view, but also allows us to land on the floating platform with the painting. Like I said before, there are other kingdoms we can do this in, but before that, there's one more spot we can use. It's on these stairs and can be harder to pull off, so I just recommend using the pillar from before. So just a quick recap, all you need is Glydon and a steep slope to fall off of. Once you fall, press B to begin gliding and shake the controller repeatedly. Gently tap a couple times to turn in one direction, but make sure not to go past 90 degrees or turn the other way. With this in mind, we can head over to the Wooded Kingdom for the next spot. Find this steep slope, walk up the leafy part, and time a glide perfectly so you just barely clear this railing and are home free to turn and fly. I decided to go as far as possible then turn back to get a weird view of the level as areas loaded back in again. Over in the Lost Kingdom, get Glydon on these stairs and repeat the process. This is probably the second easiest spot to pull this off as you don't have any ground below you and nothing to run into. In Seaside, we need to climb up the side of the glass palace, which can be annoying on its own. Then as you begin to fall, glide and away we go. I couldn't get too high in this level as there's not a whole lot of room though. Finally, darker side, which is definitely the most useful spot for this glitch. You gotta make it a good ways through the level and up to the Glydon section to bring him back down to the Sphinx. Walk off the top of his head and do your turn to the left. When you get high enough, we can simply turn and glide all the way down past the underground pipe section, which is where I died most in this level, as well as the Bowser section. We can just land on this platform past these sections and head right up the spark pylon to the end of the level. This is a really useful glitch for this stage, but it also skips out a lot of the grind you have to do to beat this level. So I'd say only try this if you've done this stage before, or you really just can't beat it. So I've already made a video on this next glitch, but it's just too good not to cover again. I won't go into as much detail this time, so check out that video later if you want. Anyway, as you can clearly see, it allows us to get the letters from Metro Kingdom out of their boundaries and terrorize the city with them. Capture any letter besides M, as we need that one specifically for the glitch. Take it over to this corner and line it up so it's facing towards the RC section. Now take the letter M and line it up perpendicular so that it's facing City Hall. Now get on the scooter and bring it over here so we can drive towards the M. As you get close, jump and then hop off the scooter so it lands on the letter. It should rock backwards and then almost be standing straight up. If it looks like this, you're in good shape. Capture the M again and lightly tap left on the control stick. The M should shift forward and go inside the other letter. Simply switch to the other letter and walk right on out. Easy peasy. Now you're free to walk around the city looking as ridiculous as ever. While this is great on its own, there are two side effects I want to show off. First is hyperspeed, which can be done by placing the letter in the path of the taxi driving. Once it's inside the letter, capture it and begin walking out. Once you leave, you'll get sent out at insane speeds. It can be hard to control this at all as you clip through everything and will most likely just end up flying off the map. If you do manage to hop out at the right time, you can end up inside of buildings out of bounds. I managed to get inside City Hall by spinning around and randomly picking a time to get out. One useful thing you can do with this is cheat the surprisingly difficult jump rope minigame. Simply walk over to it and stand on top of the letter. You can rack up however high of a score you want, and the 2 moons from it as well. You can get all the letters out using M, but what if you want to get the whole set out? Well, it's a little harder. Clip the A out and then position it here so it's dangling off this little staircase facing this direction. Then place M here as far into the corner as it'll go, facing towards City Hall. Hop back on the scooter and do the same thing as before, aiming for the middle of the side. Capture the M and with a little luck, you'll get it out too. So there you go, you now have an army of block letters ready to unleash on New Donk City. Have fun! So there were a whole bunch of glitches in Super Mario Odyssey that were never and probably will never be patched, as the latest update was over a year ago. I had a lot of fun with this episode, and I'm not really sure why I didn't make a big video on this game sooner. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this and maybe want to try a few of these out for yourself. But for now, I'm gonna get up out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, see ya!